Welcoming back to the show, Lauren Parsons, author of Thriving Leaders, Thriving Teams, and from laurenparsonswellbeing.com. Welcome, Lauren. Great to have you back with us.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Now, I was interested to see what we were talking about today. I'll tell you why, because Coach Tom is back for the new winter season. And I've been
Nice.
thinking about coaching a team and building a culture in that team. And then I see today that we're talking about gardening. Now, if you're listening, you'll be thinking, how on earth could these two things possibly come together? But you've got an interesting thought around how to build culture as a
Yeah.
gardener.
Yeah. Well, not that I'm a gardening expert, and for anyone that's listening, if you're not, that's okay. But I think I love analogies, and I've got this analogy that I think leaders need to lead like a master gardener, which is that, if you are a gardener, you want your plants to grow and thrive, but there's no way that you can force them to do that. Plants have got to do that for themselves. So I think master gardeners are great at cultivating a wonderful environment for their plants to thrive in. And I think a role as a leader, whether that's in your family, in your school, in your workplace, as a leader, you need to cultivate the right environment for your team to thrive. So the things that you do that set the atmosphere that, and I've got this whole analogy in my book, Thriving Leaders, Thriving Teams, where I talk about this and these 12 keys that start with things like light, which is like a clear vision. Number two is watering, which is positive feedback. And it goes on and on. There's a whole range of different things we look at that analogy, things like pruning is like as a leader when you're prioritizing and helping people know where to put the energy and a whole lot more. So I thought today that we could just focus in on one of my favorites, if I'm allowed to have a favorite, which is the watering, is the positive feedback, because just as plants wither without water, people wither without feedback and appreciation.
Why do you think that is, Lauren, that we thrive on positive feedback? And yeah, we'll start with that, and then I've got some other thoughts on it a bit later.
Nice. Well, I think as human beings, we just need to feel appreciated. It's a real fundamental human need to be loved and accepted. And ultimately, whether it's in a sports team, in a workplace, as part of a class setting, we want to feel appreciated. We want to feel seen and valued. And it's interesting, the work that I've done with dozens of leadership teams and workplace teams. I work with a lot of cards that look at how do people want to feel at work. And it's really interesting to me because people very often will pick the appreciated card. It'll be usually among the top two or three cards. People want to feel appreciated. And often there's actually a card missing, and it is the word valued. And quite often people will grab the post-it notes and the Sharpies and say, actually, that's how I want to feel as valued. So again, as a parent, as a leader, if you can catch people doing things right and provide immediate specific praise, that's going to create an amazing positive flow on, because people always do more of what they're praised for. And it's a much better strategy than just nitpicking, oh, you haven't done that right, you haven't done that right, you haven't done that right. Sometimes there's got to be that, of course. We've got to do some corrective stuff, but you want to balance it out with the positives.
Yeah, well, what is the balance then, Lauren? Just from a couple of angles, we all know that during the day, we might get eight positive things, but one negative thing. And we do tend to focus on that negative, right? So we
Yeah.
know that that is a tendency of ours. But also, is there a case of overusing this? Does it become too much where it actually loses its impact?
Yeah, negatives sort of stick to us like Velcro, whereas positives wash off like Teflon. I think it was Rick
Mm.
Hanson that once said that. So we do need a balance, and some of the research shows that you need at least three positives to balance every piece of negative or critical feedback to maintain the relationship. And the thing is, it's so much easier to see the negatives. It's easy to see, a customer complaint or something that's gone wrong or something that's been forgotten or something that's broken, whereas people just doing things well often gets missed.
Mm.
The thing with the only part of this analogy that I think doesn't really work is that with plants you can actually overwater, and that's quite a common reason plants do not survive. Not, no names, not trying to point at myself right here now. But actually the research shows that you can virtually not overpraise your staff. However, the challenge is that you don't want to ever be insincere. So it is a
Mm.
great goal to go out and see how much praise you can give out. But the caveat to that is that it always needs to be sincere, because people can pick that up a mile away if you just sort of put it on your to-do list. Oh, I must go out and praise Jimmy. and you're like, well done, Jimmy, great job. And Jimmy's like, no, I'm not sure that's very sincere. Yeah.
I just filled the petrol vehicle with diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, Lauren, and all of that then, and, I find that really interesting. Is there a way to give positive feedback that is more sincere, that, it does sound like you've taken some time out to think about what this person is doing well. Like
Yeah.
how do we go about this?
Oh, beautiful question. I think the key thing is it's not actually what you expect. The key thing about giving praise is to tap into the way that the other person likes to receive praise. And that won't always be the same way that you naturally give it. A lot of your listeners will have heard of Gary Chapman's love languages. And he's rewritten a new book with Paul White called The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. And it's all of the same things, but just in a non-romantic setting, looking at with our work colleagues, what can we do to feel appreciated? So if your work colleague really likes quality time, actually taking them out for a coffee and just spending time with them to thank them will be key. But if they want gifts, or they like words of affirmation, or they like actually acts of service, you'll notice that I'm actually a gift giver. Gifts is one of my love languages, languages of appreciation. So I'm always giving people gifts and things. But I actually need to realize that, like, one of my team members, hers is quality time. So I need to actually think, you don't just want me to get you a gift, you actually want me to spend time with you. So I think that's the key, is figuring out how people like to receive praise so that that praise will land with them. And I think it can be pre-planned, but it can also be spontaneous. So the more often, and it's just, genuine but spontaneous, immediate, specific praise is great as well.
All right. So cultivating a culture within a team or a family, thinking about it as a gardener might cultivate the environment in the garden today, focusing on praise. And if you think of it like watering the plants. So some interesting thoughts there. We might continue on this theme next time we catch up as well, Lauren. So Lauren Parsons with us from laurenparsonswellbeing.com, also author of Thriving Leaders, Thriving Teams as well. Thank you for your time on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on Rhema. Now, if you found value in today's content, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel with the subscribe button. This really helps us to continue to produce more quality content for you. And hey, if you'd like to stay updated and never miss any of our future videos, ring that notification bell as well. Don't forget to follow us on our other socials, which are in the description below. And until then, stay tuned.